Meeting. Thank you for getting the recording going. And we have Denise, who is on our board, and also the U.S. Federation of Worker Co-ops Board of Directors will be presenting today. But first, do a couple announcements. I don't know, Maddie, do you want to do your standard announcements, or I don't know if you
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I can just do a little intro. Welcome, everybody. My name is Maddie Tatterka. I am the Worker Benefits Program Manager at the USFWC, and I'm also the staff liaison to the Union Co-ops Council. For those of you who are joining for the first time, the Union Co-ops Council is one of our member councils, which is a way for our members all over the country to give input and provide leadership to the work that we do, because we are a member-driven organization. And we're really grateful to the work of the Union Co-ops Council for the leadership that they've provided over the past 15 years. And in the time that I've been around for the past 2 years, it's been really amazing to work with the Union Co-ops Council and get their guidance and leadership to making sure that the Federation is working in tandem with and in support of and in collaboration with the labor movement as a whole, and is furthering the work of union co-ops in particular. It's a really important piece of the co-op world. So yeah, that's
yeah, and if people can, in the chat, introduce yourself, your name, organization, if you're with an organization, and just where you are coming, zooming in from, that would be fantastic. We also, I also want to say the Union Co-op Council is basically anyone who really shows up at our calls and participates, but we also have task forces if people want to get more involved. So there's the executive committee, of course, which includes a number of people that help direct and set up these bi-monthly meetings, but there's also Labor Outreach Council, membership and outreach, case studies, and I'm probably missing a couple, so maybe Mary can, who is one of our founders, can jump in and talk about if there are other task forces that I missed.
I'm sorry, John, I didn't hear what you mentioned, but we have 4 that are functioning now. Right. So I'll just mention them, and John will it's probably a repeat. Yeah. We have a case studies task force that's putting together a series of case studies on unionized co-ops for a manual for labor unions to use. We have a local labor outreach task force, which is putting together videos to use with unions and regional labor federations. We have a member network task force that's continuing to update our contact list and reach out to people and get them involved in the various task forces. And we have a new website committee. If there is anybody who is interested in the website committee, please let us know, because that's brand new and we need people to work on that committee. Mostly what we're doing is content, but also it would be great to have some technical skills as well.
And the website is unioncoops.org if you want to go look at it. And yeah, also I want to mention so our council does have an effect out in the world. Last year especially, we did a lot of work around co-op development and unionized workplaces. And this year, not necessarily from something we proposed, but because of raising the exposure to the union co-op model, Cooperation Works, which is apex organization for co-op developers in the United States, and has about, I think it's 38 cooperative development centers and about a dozen independent co-op developers are members. They are doing a series on unions and co-ops. The next series event is actually on Monday, and it will be with Ellen Vera from Co-op Cincy, and talking about their model for union co-ops in Cincinnati. Put the link in the chat if you want to register for it. It'll be on Monday, and they'll be talking about the 10 years of their work. And of course, we are celebrating our 15th year. In a couple of weeks, our very own Rebecca Lurie will be also presenting her union co-op toolkit, and I'll put that link in the chat as well if you want to register for it. And then the last one of their sessions will be focused on unions and multi-stakeholder co-ops. And so you can also, once you register for one of them, you'll get notice for the others. So definitely, I think a very, we can take a lot of credit for Cooperation Works deciding to do this sort of education within their own work. It definitely comes from the work we've done. And yeah, I think without further ado, I want to turn it over to...
Yeah, John, can we also, I wanted to turn it over to Sanjay for a moment
sure.
to talk about the Rutgers convening coming out.
Yes, absolutely.
Hey everyone, I'll just take 30 seconds real quick here. Hello. How's it going? Coming out of the shadows. So we'll be doing the Rutgers meeting on union co-ops this year on June 17th. We'll be focusing on how these models can advance racial justice and challenge racial capitalism. Hope to see many of you there. And if you're not already on the list and would like to be, you can email me. And I'll just put my email address in the chat. And then if there's other folks who you think should be on the list, please, either reach out to me or Camille. And yeah, hope to see many of you on June 17th. Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to say last year's symposium was excellent. I still go back and look at it for things that I do. So definitely sign up for it. So without further ado, Denise Hernandez from Cooperative Homecare Associates in New York, as well as the US Federation of Worker Co-ops Board of Directors.
Thank you so much, John. Can I share the screen? I can, right? Okay. Can everybody see the screen?
Looks good.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm just going to start off by saying that I really hope that I do justice today, because this has been really a wonderful last year and a half of us coming together to advocate for such an important issue as fair pay for home care. And there's been so many wonderful techniques, efforts, commitment, determination with everyone that's been involved. So I really hope I do this justice. I put this PowerPoint together and I said, man, we've done a lot. And, super proud of being part of this movement. And I'll talk about what's the outcome at the very end. Or, there's an outcome, but we're hoping to kind of change it still. So I'll be sharing that. But I wanted to start sharing first with this picture. It's partly one of our first rallies that CHCA hosted outside of our Bronx office on Fordham Row, where we got home care workers to come out. We did some postings, we have our banner there. And really, we had press come and take pictures. And a lot of these pictures, if you Google, you'll see it on the website. It was kind of our first kind of event on our own to put together and start spreading the word of why this was important. So I figured, let me start with this picture. So I wanted to mention that CHCA became a member of an advocacy group called the New York Caring Majority in 2017. When Audrey Powell became president of CHCA, she wanted to be more involved in initiatives and groups and teams that would somehow improve, or not somehow improve, but improve the lives of the people in our community. So the New York Caring Majority, I'm going to start with them first, and then I'll talk about the union. It's a small grassroots advocacy group, and it's a movement of seniors, people with disabilities, family caregivers, domestic home care workers, and it's people from across the New York state. So this team began kind of talking together when the surge came, right? When the first surge of the pandemic came, and we started to talk about the workforce, that they were forgotten. There were people that were going out into the community still delivering services during the pandemic and, you know, wasn't really being acknowledged. So we started talking about what could we do? So we began reaching out to legislators in the fall of 2020, right? So today I want to talk, there's 3 things I'm going to focus on. I want to give you, I'm going to put on a video after this slide. It's a 6-minute video, but I thought it was important for me to share because it talks about what the bill looks like. Why did it get started? Who does it impact? And what's the cost, right? Then I'm going to be talking about who's involved in the advocacy efforts. And really, the last thing I wanted to end with was the advocacy efforts that we really kind of implemented and that guide this whole journey for us. So next. So I'm gonna, give me a moment here because I had some problems with my link. I'm gonna put on this video that I think is super important. I'm gonna, can you guys, let me see, can you?
Denise, I think you might need to unshare this window and go to the other one.
Okay, so resume share. Hold on 1 second. Can you see it now?
I still just see the PowerPoint.
Okay, so let me try it again. I was having problems with the link. I put the link on. Okay, I think you should see it now. So who this is a member, one of the directors from the New York Carry Majority that's giving a press conference last week. And this came out in the Albany News.
Denise, unfortunately, the audio is not hearable.
Okay, hold on.
Were you able to check the box that says like to share computer audio?
Yeah, you know, I did a run through with my IT manager today because I was having issues. Okay. So you're not hearing it, right?
Yeah, it's very faint.
Okay, so let's try this one more time, and then if not, then I'll just talk about it because I don't want to.
Sounds good. If necessary, we can share the video later.
Yeah. Can you hear it now?
Now the screen isn't shared.
Okay.
Hello, this is Danny.
Hi, Danny. This is Kristen Forty calling from UW Center for.
Unfortunately, it's still not audible.
Okay. So let's. Okay. Let's not. So we're not going to use the videos then. So sorry, everybody.
It's always a challenge. But if you send it to me, I'll make sure it goes out to the listserv after the meeting.
Okay. So hold on a second. Can you see the videos? Can you see my slideshow?
The screen isn't shared right now.
Okay, hold on 1 second. 1 second. Ah. Okay. Okay. Screen share. Hold on 1 second. This is what happens when you're technology challenged. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, that was just a interview. That was an interview provided by one of our campaign directors from the New York Carry Majority. And she was talking about why this is important. This is a bill that was created to bring the workers up from $13 so it's all the workers in New York State that average $13 to $15 an hour. So in New York City, we pay our workers $15 an hour, but in other areas of New York State, they're earning $13. So what this bill, what she was communicating with that was that this bill was going to bring up the workers to $22.50 an hour. We were requesting a wage increase of 150% for these workers. Because what's happened is because of this pandemic and this last couple of years, there's workers that do not want to do this work for $15 an hour, for $13 an hour. So we are facing a shortage, right, of people that want to do this work. And at the same time, this is impacting people that need the care. So, you know, throughout this whole journey, you were hearing a lot of stories from the consumers themselves that were going down to Albany and they were advocating of not really having, you know, being able to have only one meal a day, not being able to bathe themselves, not being able to transfer themselves from like the bed to a chair because they don't have anybody providing that service for them. And they want to stay in their homes. They don't want to go into institutions as their nursing homes. So, you know, it's really emotional when you hear these stories and, you know, there's something that we can do, but really people are not doing or paying attention to it. So that was the whole, like what Rachel was trying to explain here in this news clip. And the cost of all of this, she also added, I think it was about, oh my God, I think it was about $680 million that it was going to cost to do this. So she was sharing this information, you know, to the Capitol, in this news, one of the days that we were up there in Albany. So I just wanted to share it, but I'll send the link because I think she does a much better job than what I'm doing right now of sharing. So that's just a little bit, that's a background. So the idea here was to get 150% wage increase for the workers, bring them up to $22.50 an hour. That's the main point, right? So who's involved? I'm just checking. You can see my screen, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So who's involved? I mentioned the New York Carry Majority was involved, right? It's a movement of the people with disability, caregivers, home care workers, providers. So when I started this journey with New York Carry Majority, the list was smaller. As we've been working in the last year, and I wanted to show their website, who's involved, you're gonna see like the list has grown. If you can take a look and see all of these organizations, all of these people are members of the New York Carry Majority. And if you see 1199 is also has gotten on as well. I also wanted to show you that we have a steering committee in this membership, and the steering committee, the Cooperative Homecare Associates is part of that steering committee. So what this group actually did was we would meet every Friday, the steering committee, to talk about what is it that we have to do, right? To talk about what's the next steps, to talk about where should we be, to talk about what events we should be creating, who we should be talking to, who should we get involved. This was a weekly meeting every Friday that the steering committee would have. Then the list of supporters that you see here, we would have a monthly meeting in the evening and talk about what's been accomplished, talk about what are we going to focus on next. And in these monthly meetings with the supporters, the New York County majority would also bring people in to talk about training on phone banking, training on how do you approach the legislators, training on, you know, how do you get the word out on social media? That's also been a big piece of this advocacy, the social media. How do you do bird dogging, which is, you know, how do you sneak up on like the legislators when they're in their events and like bring up fair pay? So there was a lot of public education during this last year and a half too, that I think was really kind of important and instrumental and teaching folks. 1199 at the beginning, when we started back in the fall, was not part of the advocacy efforts. 1199 has about 40,000 home care workers, but home care is a part of who 1199 is, right? They also have to focus on the hospitals and they also have to focus on their nursing homes. And I don't think 1199 was part of the advocacy efforts at the beginning because they really thought that the Build Back Better funds was going to be the opportunity for the state to invest in long-term care, right? Because there was some kind of thought about like, this costs money, how was the money going to get into the state to pay for these wages? But I think in the fall of 2021, 1199 noticed that the Build Back Better fund was kind of stalled and there was nothing kind of going on. Like there was no, like, you know, there was nothing coming out from there, and they were starting to witness the shortage of home care workers. So they became, we started to kind of collaborate, the New York County majority and 1199 to come together and do the advocacy together. I'm gonna share like in a couple of screens coming. So then I also wanted to mention that initially CHCA was the only kind of home care agency. And as we started getting traction and as we started getting attention for this fair pay, there's other home care agencies that started to get involved, like Rain, Premier, because there was one thing that everybody wanted to make sure, if we were going to get these increases, the agencies also had to be protected, right? If we were saying we were going to go from 15 to 2250, we had to make sure that the health plans were going to give a reimbursement back to that we can sustain the agencies, those increases, and we wouldn't be put out of business for paying higher wages. So when the other agencies started hearing, you know, and seeing that we were getting far, they started to get on board also, because they just wanted to make sure that, you know, we were doing it correctly. We would get a reimbursement rate that would help us implement these wages and, you know, would benefit like both the workers and the organization. So, so that's when we saw that the list started getting like longer and longer, and there were more people getting involved in these efforts. So what did we start doing? In the fall of 2020, we started reaching out to the legislators. And of course, we were in pandemic mode, so a lot of the legislative offices were closed. So it was about emailing them, getting like appointments set up, Zoom calls. And we had a bill, and we were trying to get assembly, both the assembly people and the Senate, to sign off on the bill. And that was really the purpose of the call, to let them know that we needed this, to let them know. And the first question that we always used to get was, who's going to finance this? Where is the money coming from this? So the Graduate Center of CUNY and the School of Labor and Urban Studies put together a research paper. And the research paper is called The Case for Public Investment and Higher Pay for New York Home Care Workers. And what they did was they estimated the cost and the savings of implementing these wages. And I just wanted to read out some key findings that they found. You know, what they communicated was that the state costs would be more than offset by economic benefits, then new federal funding would fully cover costs borne by the state in fiscal year 23. And the one-time bonuses that Governor Hochul first came out with talking about was not going to address like the worker shortage. So what you see here is us trying to kind of convey to Karina Reyes was one of our first legislators that we set up the call. And most of the time we would get, we don't know, we'll get back to you. And I think this call, she jumped on and said, yes, hell yeah, I'm on this. I'm gonna do this with you guys. And I wanted to share this picture because it always brought like a lot of joy. You see it, all of us have smiles on our faces when we learned that, that she was gonna sign on the bill and she was gonna be a champion of the bill. So, so you see like our president here with her fist going, yay, and everybody else. And these are members of our New York Carry majority. And these are the staff members in CHCA that was kind of, that kind of led this effort for the organization. So getting fair paid into the home care bill, right? Getting fair pay, home care bills signed and into the Assembly and State Senate House. So I wanted to share this also. This is kind of cool. As we were doing this in the years, we would go into this is the actual bill, and see who signed up. And as you can see, there's a lot of Assembly people that signed up, but this was almost like a work in progress. Like all the time we would have a Zoom call, we would kind of go back and see did they sign, did they not sign, or like somebody from the New York Carry majority would send out a text or an email and say, Kenny Burgos just signed on. So we, it was a track, like something for us to track and kind of continue to look at to see if the legislative members were signing on and they were agreeing. I mentioned that in the fall of 2020, we began reaching out to the legislators, right? So in March 2021, when Cuomo was still around, the bill actually made it to the budget hearings, but we didn't have enough support at that time. And it was rejected. So April 1st, 2021, that's when, we said, we have to move forward with this. We have to put our all into it. And kind of, I always say like determination kind of kicked in and said, this is gonna be, our project, this is where we're going, this is what we're gonna do. And since April 1st, 2021 till now, right? A year, right? We've been like working really hard at this every other day and and doing things to kind of keep the momentum going and planning and speaking and a bunch of stuff, right? In January 14, 2022, we learned that Governor Hochul just added a one-time bonus. She talked about her executive budget. We heard that there was no increases in there, that it was just a one-time budget. So we started making some noise again. We started talking to the legislators again. And in March 14th, we learned that the Fair Pay for Homecare bill was actually in the Assembly and the Senate House budget. So I think for us, that was like amazing and good news, and everybody was happy, right? That at least, they were going to negotiate. So I wanted to share this. What were some of the advocacy efforts? And I think, the New York Carry majority had like, this was like the techniques that they advocated for, promoted, and it was like incredible. So social media, Twitter, if you go into their Twitter, you see every other Twitter has to do with fair pay. So they were tweeting out everything and they were, telling us to do the same. When we have fair pay events, we were doing stuff live, right? We did a lot of phone banking where we flooded the polls for the legislator's office and for Governor Hochul's office, reminding them to put this into the bill. We had a letter writing campaign. We had a gentleman that was helping people kind of edit their letters and send them to the media or send them to the newspapers. And we also had media coverage, attend like a lot of the events. We had one of the CHCA's home care workers come out twice in a Spanish channel, Univision, talking about fair pay, being interviewed. And we had a WhatsApp group where we communicated. So if we're in Albany or we're here, people are actually tracking legislators or people saying, Governor Hochul's here, like go, like, and sending folks, can someone go here today? Can someone go here today? Or this is the location. So it was really a wonderful kind of strategy to keep people informed and to keep people, you know, in the know and stuff of what's going on. I'm not going to show this video. They also created a bunch of videos, but since we're having issues with I'll send out this video as well. This video is the story of a consumer that's having difficulties getting coverage, and you know, she talks about the impact in her life and it not being fair, and you know, and they did quite a few of these videos as well. Another effort that we did was roundtable discussions. The roundtable discussions were basically led by the legislators. They would invite, you know, people that had signed on to the bill, and it would be an hour long, and they would talk about why they are promoting and covering this bill. Why is it important? So we had one in Westchester, and we had one in the Bronx that we kind of led, and the one in the Bronx. And, you know, we had opportunities for the consumers to talk. We had opportunities for home care workers to talk and to hear directly from the legislators. So that also like built a lot of their awareness of what was going on. We had workers share their stories. So in all these pictures is like our workers. This is Alma doing a participating in a legislative hearing when the budget came out. Her talking to legislators saying why fair pay should be there, sharing her stories. We have Aracelis in the rally behind CHCA. We have Vicenta Alvarez talking to Senator Rachel May. We have Deborah here talking with the Black, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, Asian Legislative Caucus. We had workers attending a Women's Legislative Caucus. We had Deborah again with Congressman Richie Torres. Again, this was an effort for people to share their stories and to keep fair pay like on everybody's mind, like why this is important. And you know, and for us, it's a way for us to get our workers involved, for people to hear our workers' stories. And, you know, and our workers were more than willing enough to go out and do this and participate and share their stories and then really feel good about doing that. So it was an awesome kind of, you know, it was good. It was really good. I also wanted to share some fair pay pictures. And I know that I've sent this like regularly to you all, keeping you updated and letting you know what's going on. These were stuff that we were involved with, without our workers were involved with, throughout the New York City, throughout Manhattan and the Bronx and Albany. Just again, trying to get the attentions of the legislators, the councilmen, the controller, the Bronx Borough president, you know, sharing stories. Then I also wanted to talk about this technique, which I thought was kind of cool. So it's called bird dogging, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with it, but I wasn't. So it's a tactic used by activists to get the candidates, right, on record about important issues. So what we would do is we would look at the social medias of the legislators and see where they were at and send folks out to try to go to their events, their public events, and like talk to them. So we have Denise Clark here with Heastie, Assemblymember Heastie. He was dressed as the prince for a Halloween activity that he had in his community. And then we have Linda with Jamal Bailey. And then we have here, I wanted to show this picture. This picture is actually a Zoom call with the governor herself. Audrey was on it, and we had like members of the New York Carrying Majority was on it, because one of this lady named Cheryl was bird dogging the governor. So she kept going to her events, and the governor agreed to give her some airtime. And it was a Zoom call. It was probably like no more than 5 minutes long, but she wanted to hear her story. So we had the opportunity to do that too, which I thought was fantastic. We had faith-based events where we, and this was in the union headquarters, where we kind of invited different religious leaders and talked about fair pay. And they also were committed to going back to their congregations to talk about this and build the awareness. So, and we did one with Jamal Bowman in Co-op City in the Bronx. So that was also another opportunity to like get more people involved. We did trips to Albany this last March. We were up there like weekly. We were up there yesterday. We were up there the first 2 weeks of April, continuing to kind of put pressure, continuing to kind of remind the legislators 150%. Let's do this. And I've shared a lot of these pictures with you all as well. And then this was a big rally, 1199. Of course, they have the power to bring everybody with their buses. So this was a really cool picture of all the workers. It was a press event to Senator Rachel May and Dick Goffrey were there, and then the senators were there, and some of the assembly people were there. And they were also talking about fair pay. And we had like a consumer speak, and we had like a home care worker also share their story. Again, 1199 events. If you see the massive purple, when we go there and everybody's there, all you see is purple t-shirts all over the place. And, and our friends, Guadalupe and Keith Joseph. This was on what is it, on Valentine's Day? We did a whole theme, Have a Heart for Home Care. And we, did a little heart outside. So, I think at this point, when the 1199 did get on, they started doing a bunch of promos, and they did TV ads as well to push this and to the importance of providing the increases. Okay, I wanted to show you this too. I thought this was a really beautiful, powerful visual. What they did was they signed people's names that can't find home care. And they've carried this around for like the last month. And they would throw this out like and put it down the stairs or put it wherever we were at. And it's just a powerful visual for me of people that are, that are not managing their lives. It's hard for them to manage their lives because they don't have the people there caring for them. So March was the fair pay, the final push. There was a daily call. I thought this was incredible too. For the month of March, we received emails every day telling us of different things that we can do. Again, phone banking, tweeting, hosting events, turning in, watching live events, appearing at events where legislators were at. Every day in the morning, we would get an email saying, this is what we're going to focus on today, which I thought was like pretty cool and like, wow, and it was because, they were doing the negotiations. We wanted to make sure that, we were still being heard, that we were still in people's minds. And then I wanted to share this, which I thought was, this is like maybe 12 articles that I found that covered fair pay and covered like the need of ending poverty, the need of, the care and stuff. And it's just a small amount, I think. There's so much more. But I think this like advocacy brought a lot of attention. And I thought this was kind of also powerful, like showing like the news articles and, you know, the titles and the different places within the New York State that talked about this, you know, and the need for this. And then this, I'm going to end with this. So this was a picture that we took last week. Governor Hochul was giving her first update on the budget, and someone found out and someone kind of sent a message through the WhatsApp. So everybody like charged to where she was at. And, but you know, they were locked and she was on the other side, and they started to scream and they started to make a lot of noise. And, you know, and their reporter started to turn around and take pictures. And we got this picture from it, which I thought, you know, was wonderful also, and nice and, you know, and powerful. And, you know, it's kind of like all over the place also. And, you know, I think it was hard to hear her press conference with the screaming of fair pay on the other side. So, yeah, so I love this picture. And that's all for me, I think. I'm so sorry about the sounding, but you know, but this has been, for me, it's been an incredible journey. So I was up there yesterday. Yesterday didn't feel as nice. Yesterday, it was a lot of waiting to hear what was going on. And we found out that they were kind of cutting. It wasn't 150% that they were going to do. They wanted to do, the rumor is that they want to do like a $3 increase. And I think they want to increase $2 the first year, $1 the second year. And they still want to give bonuses. So it really wasn't, it's not what we wanted. So there's still a lot of talk about what are we going to do? How we're going to continue to fight. We kept tweeting like the legislators as they were in caucus, because yesterday they were like in sessions trying to, you know, get through this budget. And I think one powerful thing that we kept hearing was that the fair pay was holding up the budget, because they kept going back and forth. They kept going back and forth. And there were some legislators that were saying, you know, they were going to vote however they thought was more appropriate. There were some legislators that were saying, no, that it's not fair, that they're still going to like, you know, they're still going to push. But it was a lot of emotions yesterday. It was really sad, you know, a lot of people crying, a lot of people upset, you know, we kept, yeah, so it was, it was a different kind of feeling yesterday. And I guess that's normal when you work for something for so long and you don't, you know, you think it's the best thing for everyone and it, you know, for the consumers, for the workers, for the economics of the world, you know, and it just doesn't come through. So it was a little hard yesterday. But yeah, so I'm still waiting to hear. So today we have reactions. We're asking some of our home care workers to put some videos together so we can put in Facebook and kind of record their reactions to this and kind of hearing like what's the next steps. And, you know, we don't know if we're going to have the, they're going to do that. And we don't know if the providers now also have the guaranteed reimbursement that we need in order to pay like the rates. So we're kind of still waiting to hear for the details. All in all, it's been an awesome journey, you know, and probably one that I would probably do again. Yes. So thank you everybody for your attention. Again, I hope I did this justice. You know, you kind of live it for like the last year and there's like so much, you know, so much good stuff that you just want to make sure that everything is kind of covered.
Well, thank you so much, Denise. That was an excellent presentation, and Today I learned about bird dogging too. So thank you so much for that. And I want to say, for those of you that dive into the sort of the academic world of co-ops, the International Center for Co-op Management talks about the cooperative enterprise model, where they envision co-ops needing to get beyond simple member benefit and really talk about building community and engaging stakeholders. And I think this presentation is just an excellent example of how the union co-op community really does that, where we really go into beyond simply talking about our membership, but also talking about the larger community that we serve and work in. And this is really, and how when you really engage that community, you can build such a great change in our society. So really wonderful. And I might even tap you to come and help present to a class next year when I talk about this more. But before we get into questions, I do want to maybe give Melissa Young space right now for some kind of breaking news for the council. If you can jump on, Melissa, and just
Okay.
share.
Thanks, John. I just learned this morning that we have been accepted with our proposal for a union worker co-op workshop at the Labor Notes Conference in Chicago in June. It'll be June 17th, 19th. And Ellen Vera and Elizabeth Ryder and I worked really hard on creating a proposal, and we just got the news this morning. So we're looking forward to that. It will have people from Co-op Cincy, people from Moving Images, the work that the organization I work with, and some other union worker co-ops. So I'm pleased. And it's a way to help get the word out more toward union organizers. So.
And I want to say, if you've never been to a Labor Notes conference, you should absolutely go. I went once many years ago, and it is really where the labor movement is alive and flourishing, and they've kept that banner and the candle burning during this entire 40 years of neoliberalism attack on unions. And part of the reason that the union movement is coming back so strong is because of organizations like Labor Notes. So if you can go, definitely try to get there this year.
And the great labor arts exchange is also going to be at this conference. So the culturally and so on, I think it's going to be really a fun place to be, as well as hearing about all the organizing struggles going around the country right now. So
wonderful. Okay, so thank you so much, and really great news. And Mary, did you want to jump in real quick?
I just want to remark that congratulations, Melissa, and everyone who worked on that. That's an overlap with the Rutgers conference that Sanjay mentioned just a few minutes ago. So the Rutgers conference is on June 17th, and the Labor Notes conference is June 17th through the 19th, just so people are aware of that overlap. An abundance of riches.
And I see also Rebecca's mentioning that the Elron conference was also accepted just now. So today seems to be, even more. I don't know if you want to briefly talk about that, Rebecca, or we can just go to questions too.
No, we can go to questions. It's
Okay.
the labor research.
Great. So but the good news is the momentum from last year continues, and really exciting work happening in the world of union co-ops, and a great way for us to celebrate our 15th anniversary as a council. And so so if anyone has any comments or reflections for Denise, just either raise your hand or dive in.
I just want to say, I've been hearing about this, and of course I've seen the amazing pictures, and I know we've been promoting it on our social media at the Federation, but I'm just really blown away by the just how long this incredible campaign has been going on for, and just the diversity of tactics that everyone employed. And it just seems like it was a really amazing opportunity to build leadership among the workers and also the people receiving care. And I'm curious about like what that's been like within CHCA, and just like what the vibe is and the energy and interest in the campaign is like, and if it has, what kind of leadership development you've seen within the workforce.
I would wish that, so I would wish that more people would be, honestly, would get more involved. And what we noticed was the workers that got involved are the workers that have like the longevity with CHCA. So there was one worker that reported out, I'm about to retire, but I think that this is important to be here and to be sharing my voice. So we still haven't figured that out yet. Like, how do we get the newer folks involved, right? Because this is important. This is their life. This is, this is about them. And so we're still trying to kind of figure that out, but, yesterday they sent Wednesday, they sent a message saying, we're going back to Albany, like who could come? And I had like 3 workers that are already registered, and they're like, are we going? So are we going, because we had like a little minivan that we would kind of tell our workers come, fit like 5 people in the minivan and then drive up there, and get them breakfast. So it was like a bonding, like, yeah, but how do we do more of that, and how do we get more people, and how do we get the folks that are younger, right? Because the folks that went with us are a little bit more older. They've been in the field for 15 plus years. So how do we get the newer folks involved and really interested in this, right? Because this is about their future if they remain in home care. So, today I sent out an email and I said, I sent out a text and I said, who can send me a video? And I got like 2 or 3 videos. So I think people are really empowered. They want to have their voices heard, but how do we do more of that? I always say, like, I'm like happy, but then I'm saying like, how do we get more of that here? So I think, I think people are interested, they send me the videos, we had like Kim moderate there in Albany, which is a little intimidating. You have so many people like looking at you. And she was co-moderating like a press conference. So we had like a couple of workers kind of stand up to the plate and like lead some of these efforts. So, it's been pretty cool kind of sitting back and like seeing that, and they feel good about it. And they feel good about the participation. And again, I always say, how can we do more? How can we get more? So yeah, it's been an opportunity for them to really have their voice heard. And I think they appreciate that, So.
That's awesome. There's always room for growth, but it's just a momentum thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
See, Rebecca has her hand up. So Rebecca, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm traveling, so I can't come on screen. Wow, Denise, thank you so much. As a New Yorker, I watched this happening in different ways. I got to join one of the rallies at City Hall, but I was so happy when I saw the ad on TV, which I knew was the union's dollars. Mm-hmm. And so I'd love you to talk more. This is really a look-see of a good company, being a co-op, CHCA, pairing with its alliances, the adjacent movements like the disability justice movement, the movement of seniors who want to age in place, of course, the workers who are your members, but also other companies that might be your competitors. And then finally, the union that has a say for some, gets involved with some of those workers. Just a little bit about what that was like to convene so many different stakeholders for that common message and the role the union played. I'd love just for us to hear more about that.
I think for me, it was really cool. There was one event that we got to do and Rain was there. So Rain is a competitor, right? And Partners and Premier was there too. At that point, it wasn't about, being like our competitors. It was about coming together and sharing the same message. you know? So for me, I think that that was pretty cool. And for me, when you look at that list of supporters, that list grew. It was kind of small, and you see so many more people getting involved, AARP, you know, other folks like saying this is important, you know, we have to spread this word, and like, and people coming together and spreading that word. Yeah, it's empowering, it's great, it's wonderful, you know, and I think, you know, I think when you have all of that too, and then at the end, you know, maybe stuff doesn't turn out the way you wanted it to turn out, like, you know, it's like, wow, you know, we have all these different voices, all these different people advocating for this, you know, what's up, you know? So for me, it was great. All the time we heard that someone else was involved, or somebody else wanted to come together. Adria belongs to a coalition of different agencies too that come together, and they talk unionized agencies, and she got them involved, you know. So you know, yeah, it's really cool.
In our co-op movement, as we talk about unions, I feel like there's a need to understand that it's not, a union is not equal to a company. A union helps to organize across the entire market, and the role that this movement made, you know, which was lots of competitors and CHCA and consumers, people who rely on your services, and the union, all were able to fight for policy change, which, you know, just to clarify, did not win yesterday, and the fight continues. And all of that versus what one company could do in the market, where they end up really being at the mercy of these market trends that often push down wages. So, you know, the strategy to raise the floor, even for your competitors, means like we're all raising the floor for the workers in this sector. I think it's very important and great that you all are doing this.
Yeah, and we will continue. I was reflecting, I was like, wow, it's been more than a year, and it just, how time flies, and it doesn't really feel like it. But I was like, we've been in this for a year, and you know, and I think we will continue to work and continue to, you know, raise the voice and, you know, and raise these issues. So this is not over yet, you know. So.
Yeah, I wonder if other people have questions that can come up a lot about movement building, and seeing either the question or the insights you gained for how we build our movement stronger than any one co-op.
Yeah, are there other questions right now? Otherwise, I have one. Just give a chance for anyone to jump in. Yeah, Denise, I again, this just incredible to watch. I can't wait to share this out. So I know here in Washington, we have 5 small home care cooperatives, and one of the things, you know, when I mentioned it to one of my coworkers, their first response was, because most of the home care workers here, not only are they providing home care for people, but they also, because of wages and scheduling, tend to also qualify for Medicaid. And so one of her questions is if the higher pay, would it actually push people off Medicaid? And is it high enough to make up the difference for what they would have to cover in home care for their own health care? And I was wondering how that dynamic played out or was thought about during the discussion.
Yeah, so I think that was like that was one of the things that we were talking about yesterday. If you do like the $2 increase, right? Or the $1 increase, or however it is that the rumor has that they're going to do it, it could probably impact some of the workers and not being able to qualify for the public assistance, right? And the $15, so if you're in Westchester and you do $13 and you're $15, you can't live in the $15 alone. So it's still a problem, you know, given the increase, but now you may be jeopardizing their public assistance, and then the wage is still not high. So, you know, we were hoping that with the $22.50 at least, you know, it can help them, it's a higher wage, it's, and it can help them live better and like pay their bills and stuff. And maybe, yeah, so I don't know if I answered your question, John, but yeah, I think there is increasing it slightly, I think jeopardizes their opportunity to get the public assistance, and could put them in a worse place than what they are now.
Right, yeah, I think, I can see where sometimes in the public mindset, it's like, well, you go for 100% and then you settle for somewhere in the middle, and people think that's compromise, and compromises are good somehow, but reality, right, you're almost better off not getting that compromise.
Yeah, and we were saying that yesterday. We were saying just pull. We were like texting the legislators, just pull it then, But the legislators are not gonna want to do that after we've, advertising, and they're gonna want to do something instead of nothing. So that's it's
It's part of the challenge, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Thanks.
Yeah.
Are there other questions? We still have 10 minutes. Otherwise, anyone else want to jump in? Please feel free just to come off mute if you want.
John, I'll just mention that in Massachusetts, we've just come off a campaign, not as intensive as the one that you ran, Denise, that you were involved in, but I was really impressed. We have a statewide coalition in Massachusetts, not dissimilar to your coalition, and we did a lot of work, but not nearly as sophisticated and well coordinated as yours, although I would never take anything away from the people who managed it. I was amazed. It was really an exciting thing to be part of. It was very exciting. And this is legislation to support formation of worker co-ops to benefit the economy in Massachusetts. Some technical assistance and training funding, employees on corporate boards, a mass center for employee ownership within the state government, and other things like that. So there were various aspects to it. It wasn't as it was a little more varied, I think, than the campaign for a higher wage. But it was very exciting to be part of, and I encourage anyone to get involved in it.
Thank you, Mary. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would come home and I would be like, wow, there's a lot going on, and super organized and super like always thinking of what to do next, and we came back from Albany yesterday, and at 8:30 in the nighttime, there was a Zoom to debrief, like letting people know what's going on. So, not to get discouraged, and giving each other acclimate, because there was a lot of people that were so disappointed, and got emotional. So it was an opportunity to come together and kind of hear each other out and like support each other, after such a rough day. But they're really well organized, and yeah, it's been a wonderful experience, being involved in this, and knowing that we're trying to do the right thing for folks. So.
Yeah. Are there other questions or reflections? I see Maddie in the chat mentioned, or maybe not. Maybe thinking how this ties in with some of the recent activity and a lot of the labor wins, specifically, right, with REI, but also Starbucks and Amazon. Really seems like there is this huge wave of new unionism happening, and how we might think about that in terms of some of these policy battles. And anyways, yeah, I don't know if there are any other questions. Otherwise, Maddie, do we have like events to talk about upcoming? Or I think this would also be a great presentation to the policy council for the Federation. So it might be something we want to share with Mo over at Menkling. And I think it would be a great workshop for the worker co-op conference. I think there's a lot more that worker co-ops can be doing around policy and learning how to do that. As someone who used to be in a co-op that was pretty heavily regulated, learning some of these skills and how to build these movements and connect can be really, really valuable for all of us. So Maddie, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have this recording for folks to come and refer back to, because again, I just think that the overview you gave, Denise, is just really helpful in illuminating what kind of work and what kind of organizing goes into bringing this kind of policy fight. And I think, yeah, I think like, we didn't get the outcome we wanted yesterday, but it, doesn't diminish the power of the workers that are in the home care industry and the workers that are, stepping up all over, and in New York City at Amazon and with the Starbucks workers and, other home care union co-ops that are popping up around. So it's just a really exciting moment, and it's exciting to hear about sort of how CHCA, one of the biggest, if not the biggest union co-op in the country, is situated in all of this. So yeah, I wonder, I guess Matt Feinstein isn't on the call anymore, but we've got some exciting events coming up through our co-op clinic that Matt linked in the chat earlier, our Foundations of Workplace Democracy web series and Leadership Succession is on Wednesday, May 11th. We also have our member meeting coming up in late May, which you can also find on the co-op calendar. Yeah, if this is also a great time, if anyone else has any announcements they'd like to share about events coming up or big wins or developments, we've got a couple minutes left.
All right. Well, it's a quiet crowd today. But I think there's a lot to digest as well. So let's let people get on with their Friday and their weekend, and we can end a few minutes early. So I want to thank you all. I don't think we've set our